Hey legends, welcome to day 6 of your Golf Grand Prix guides with Bang Up from Ultimate Golf Caddy. I can't believe we're on to day 6 already. This one's gone very quickly. There are again some great rewards on offer today, including another absolute beauty of a pin, the gold multi-stat. Now, I'm not too sure if this one is the gold ball multi or gold club multi, but either way, both fantastic pins, absolutely worth the effort again today. So first things first, go ahead and smack that like button and hit subscribe. I've got a ton more guide and tutorial content coming soon, and my subscribers will get the jump on the competition with notifications when my guides drop. Thanks to everyone that has subbed recently. I'm getting closer to that 1,000 mark every day. You're all bloody legends. Cheers, guys. Now, if you're new to Ultimate Golf or an existing player who wants to start another account, I've got a promo code that is going to help you advance in the game much faster. Once you download the game and get to the home screen, if you click the megaphone icon for the news section, you'll see a promo code box where you can enter the code shown on your screen now. That code is Bandit23. You'll get a bunch of club cards, cash, coins, and a few premium balls to get your Ultimate Golf journey started. Don't miss this one, peeps. As always, our guides are made using the best companion app for Ultimate Golf, Ultimate Golf Caddy. You can head on over to the Google Play Store, type in Ultimate Golf Caddy, CADDY, and download it today. For those without Caddy, we'll also provide the numbers so everyone can enjoy this awesome content. We've got some great opportunities today with a few drivable holes, including a great chance to putt for Albatross. Who doesn't love that? As always, our misses are explained and various approaches discussed. Alright, now let's get into what we're here for. Ultimate Golf Caddy's guide to getting those juicy drops. Let's go. Okay, so hole 1 is one of the toughest par 3s in the game here. We're at Wolf Creek 3, but I've got a reasonably consistent setup here that should get you close. So we're playing with Pegasus level 1, and I'm using a major trophy ball, trying to keep my wind in the 3.6 to 3.9 mile an hour range. So choose your ball accordingly. What we're doing here is applying 4 bars of topspin to give ourselves a better look at the ball guide coming in here. And we're setting up 8 rings from max, which also gives us a position that is 3 rings from landing to the cup. So we'll just go back and have a look at that. So as you can see here, 3 rings from landing to cup. Now, what we're then going to do is go and set the ball guide up so that it lines up dead at the flag. So we want that tip of the ball guide going straight at the flag here. And go over a little bit more to the left so that we're in the right position. Now what we're going to do is apply 1 bar of right spin and then all of our back spin. And I know this hole normally plays with a plus 5% elevation, so I'm using that knowledge here to set this shot up. We end up with a 1.45 ring adjust on our 3.8 mile an hour wind, which equates to wind divided by 2.62. So go ahead and do your calculations. We go ahead and do our adjustment. 1.45 rings. That position looks good. We take our shots. Again, double check you got the backspin on. Easy enough to leave it off when you're using topspin to check your guide. In we come, straight at the cup. Beautiful shot into the right edge. Now, one thing on this hole, I had 4 shots at it. 2 of them dropped and 2 of them were close misses on the right hand side. Now, you could probably set this one up a little tick to the left of the flag, depending on your wind angle. If you've got something more of a side wind, because you're pulling uphill with an elevation factor already applied, you're probably going to end up with this marginal overpull. So the ones that are more side wind and less headwind, I would recommend probably setting up one tick to the left. But use a practice pin, have a look at it, see how close you get. And also with the one that is more of a side wind, you might want to set it up slightly further back because it's going to get a lot more rollout without the secondary wind from that headwind pulling it up. So as I said, grab a practice pin, have a look at it first, get yourself close. And look, as I said, this one's tough. So if you miss, take the tiebreaker and head on to the next hole, which we're going to do now. Okay, so our next hole is another tricky one. This is hole 1 at Wolf Creek, the first par 5 in the course. And we're going to end up in Hellfire range here. So we're using, I think it's Hellfire 3, not as much backspin as you want from the top end club. So we're going to add a green backspin pin, and we're just pulling into overpower, lining the outside left edge up with the top rough tier on the left edge. Go ahead and hit full overpower with full topspin on our shot. Just using a 10% ball here again. That gets us pretty close to a max Hellfire 5 coming in. And we've added that backspin pin so we can get nice and close to the flag here. Now, this is another hole that plays with quite a bit of elevation applied. So what we're going to do is start with full backspin here because the ball guide's pretty decent on this club. So full backspin and 1 bar of left spin, and we're just going to go and set our shot position up here. And I'm using knowledge of playing this course a lot of times to know that I can set up a bit closer than I normally would in a tail with a Hellfire, because I'm pulling downhill. So I'm going to lose rollout on this one. So I end up setting up about 1.85, maybe a little bit closer to 1.9 rings from landing to cup. And then I line it up here with the left edge because I know this one rolls left to right as it comes up to the flag. And then I add almost another half a bar. I probably should have gone another 2 ticks, but you'll see how close I get. Now again, this is another hole that is elevated, and we're playing this one with 5% elevation. So in our 4 mile an hour wind, we've got a 2.19 ring adjust, which equates to wind divided by 1.826. So as I said, start with 1 bar of left, and then I've added almost another half a bar. We do our 2.2 ring adjust here, and you'll see how close this one gets. Now remember, much closer than I would normally have been in a tailwind with Hellfire. And you'll see that the speed coming in here is really good. Okay, so perfect speed, we just end up right of the cup. So for you guys, all you need to do is probably add another 2 ticks of left spin. So set up everything else the same as me, and then just add another couple of ticks of left spin. Make sure you have the 5% elevation on your numbers in Caddy, and you guys should get pretty close to this one. I think this one's definitely one that you're going to drop with a couple of looks at it. All right, so let's move on to hole 3. All right, so we're on to our 3rd hole, Wolf Creek, hole 5. Now, we've got a nice tailwind here from the middle tees, and I think this one, you guys are going to want to drive this. You give yourself a nice opportunity to putt for albatross, and we all know that doesn't happen often. So if you've got the pins, go ahead and put them on. I'm using a green ball power pin and a gold club power pin. Now, I'm just looking here for something in the 10 to 11% range. I didn't want to use a DX because that one's going to blast it over the back. So I just wanted something with a little bit less wind reduction. I settled for the Yippee-Ki-Yay, So we've got a nice 6.5 mile an hour tail here, and because I'm pulling downhill with a slight right to left wind, I'm going to set it up so that the ball is actually the ball guide is pointed a little bit to the left of the cup. Normally I would apply an elevation factor here, but again, we're pulling heavily downhill, so I just left it this time. So we're doing full top spin and full left spin. We go ahead and make our 4.36 ring adjust. So I'm just adjusting the size of my increments here on the caddy ruler because these rings are smaller and I didn't have enough zoom to play the shot and to get the adjustment with the ring size that I had set. So nice and easy, go and make the adjustment on your caddy grid. Then after we've done our adjustment, all we're going to do is just push straight back up to max, hit our shot with full overpower, and you'll see that this one rolls up really nicely. I think maybe if I had a top spin pin here, this one would have had a really good look at going in. So there you go, guys. Nice easy one for you to be putting for albatross. Save yourself the hassle of worrying about a close chip. However, if you're confident with a close chip shot, you're probably going to need to dunk it on this hole because I think our wedge today is only about a 60% shot view. So if you're comfortable with that, you can get yourself a slightly higher tiebreaker score, but you risk the miss. So I think the best option here is to just play for the green and take the albatross and move on to the next hole. Okay, so we've got another hole here that we're going to get a really nice look at driving here. I just have a look with a 10% power ball here. I'm still a little bit short, so I'm going to go ahead and apply a couple of green power pins for my club and my ball. And as you can see, I start on the green. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to go ahead and take this shot as is. Again, we'd rather be putting than playing from the rough or a close chip here. So all I do here is just line my shot up. Now, you'll see again that I'm closer than I would normally have been in a tailwind condition. Again, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm pulling significantly downhill on this one. So you'll see that I end up overcompensating here. So you guys can make a correction and give yourself a shot at it, but definitely give yourself a shot at a much better tiebreaker. So the spin setup I think is good, but it's just the amount that I compensate for the downhill pull. So we do our 2.9 ring adjustment here. Just taking a bit of time to make sure I get the ruler set up properly. Happy with that now. So we go and do our 2.9 ring pull, and what I'm going to do here is have a look side on to see how much elevation I've lost, which you can see it's significant. So what I would normally do is pull up maybe 2 rings, which I think I end up pulling pretty close to 2 rings up here. But as you can see, because that elevation is so steep, I actually regain all that elevation as I pull back up. So I didn't need to go that far. As you can see, when this one comes in, I end up on the back side of the green, but I'm still on the green, putting for the eagle. So I'm happy with that. But if you guys go ahead and do the same setup and then only probably pull up maybe 1.2 bars from your starting position after your adjustment, I think you're going to get a lot closer with the high tiebreaker and maybe even a couple of lucky par 4 hole-in-ones. All right, so let's move on to the next hole. Okay, so we've got another short par 4 here, and as I said at the start of the video, it's a bit of a drive fest today, so we're going to go ahead and take advantage of this short hole, and we're going to play to be on the green again here. So again, I've got a green power pin for both my club and my ball. Just having a look here to see whether a gold power pin is going to give me any extra push here. So that looks to me, I've got a bit more topspin. And I think obviously I'm much closer to the green here, and if I overpower this one, I'm pretty comfortable that I'm going to get this one up onto the green. So in a 3.1 mile an hour wind, we're doing a 2.3 ring adjust here. Now you can see that because of the extra boost pin here, I have to set this one up short to be able to see where my rings are for my adjustment, but I go ahead and do that and then just push it back up to max. So full top spin, and that right spin gets me in line with the flag here, so you can see this one comes in really nice. Again, just a touch more top spin, I reckon that one had a really good look as well. So definitely recommend using some pins on this hole. It's another one where you guys can definitely have an opportunity to be putting for the easy eagle. All right, next hole. Okay, so we're on Wolf Creek 10 here for our next hole, and did I say Drive Fest? I meant Drive Fest. So as most of you know, when you've got a tailwind on this hole, it is definitely an opportunity to drive the green or get very close. So one thing to keep in mind, we're used to playing this one from the back tees. We're on the middle tees today. So I'm basically just having a look here to see how much extra rollout I'm going to get on the distance that I'm working with here. So I had a quick look back from the tee to try and visualize what I'm used to seeing. Now I'm just testing out the various pins to see how much distance I'm going to get without them. So I sort of start with some and then progressively take them off once I've figured out exactly what that rollout looks like. And so what I'm going to do first is get my adjustment here, because when I push back up to max, I can then go and have a look to see how much further past my max position that adjustment's going to give me. So if I'm pulling 11.4 rings from max to get my 16.1 mile an hour wind adjustment, if I push it back up to max and then use my increment ruler to count 11.4 rings past my landing position, I can then take that and add the shot guide that I've got to give myself a reasonable estimate of how much further this thing's going to go, and then add the tailwind component onto that to see what it looks like. So that's all I'm doing here. So I had a look at this and I thought, no, if I leave all of this on, that's definitely going to be going over the back. So I took the gold top spin pin off and just went down to a white top spin pin. So I've still got the gold power, the white top spin, full overpower here. So in our 16.1 mile an hour wind, we had an 11.4 ring adjust, which gives us 1.4 wind divided by 1.4. And as you can see, with the white top spin pin and the gold power pin, we are on the green putting for an eagle. And with the DX, your swing zone is very good, so you guys are going to go ahead and make this one too. So we've got plenty drops so far, looking good. Let's keep going. Okay, so this hole is our first proper miss, but I'm going to give you guys a look at it anyway, just so you can see where the miss was and give yourself a chance to adjust for that. Now, we've got one of the longer par fives, but I'm definitely not going to be playing the mountain bump on this hole. So we're just going to go full overpower with our Nautilus driver here, try and get it as far up the fairway as we can. That big great right doesn't matter because we got plenty of fairway to play with on the right side there. nice little rollout to a decent position with the Hellfire. So you can see that I'm not quite at max here, but pretty close, which gives me a good chance to have a shot here with the Hellfire. Now, one thing I didn't take into account here is this pull angle is very much uphill. So you'll see when I can zoom down here, significant uphill pull here. And I didn't account for that in my setup. So I was pretty comfortable with the rollout here. I came out at a pretty good speed, maybe a tiny bit hot, but because of that uphill pull with pretty much a direct side wind, I lose a lot of adjustment from left to right. So there's a couple of ways you guys can compensate for this. You can either add a percentage factor to your adjustment, or you can offset your setup. And you'll see that with this one, I probably end up, I reckon, about maybe a third of a ring to the right of the cup because of that uphill pull. So we're going to go ahead and take our shot here. And I won't bother giving you numbers here because I think you guys can go and play around with the numbers in Caddy yourself. But as I said, good speed, only slightly past the cup, but that right hand miss was pretty significant. So I would recommend you guys, as I said, either add a percentage value to your setup, maybe 5%, maybe 10%, or offset your setup play by moving your target left of the cup before you take your shot. All right, so let's move on to the next hole. Okay, so our next hole is another par 3. I had a bit of a look at this one before I ran through my playthrough here. This one is a miss, but you'll see that it's a very, very close miss, and there's a really easy way to fix this one. So if you saw one of my early caddy videos, you would have seen that this hole plays with a significant elevation downhill. So we're losing elevation, which means we need to under adjust our shot. So we're going to play with a minus 17% elevation factor here. And we're right at the bottom end of our Iron Eagle range. So you could either add a power pin to get your wedge closer to range, but I think the better play here is to add a backspin pin and get yourself right to that min range by using a lower power ball. So I've got an 8% power ball here with a green backspin pin. Now I knew it was going to be very close to too hot coming in, but you'll see here how close it is. So as I said, we applied a 17% downhill factor here, so minus 17% in our elevation button. We applied all of our backspin and one bar of right spin, just pointed straight at the flag, and you'll see perfect line, but just a tiny bit too hot. So what you're going to have to do is use a gold backspin pin. So we had, let's go back and have a look. Okay, so 6 bars of backspin. So you probably want maybe another half a bar of backspin. So if you're using the gold backspin pin, remember that applying full backspin with the gold pin might be a little bit too much. But maybe hit practice on this one and have a look at it. If you don't have a lower power ball, like an 8% power ball, and you're only playing with 9s and 10s, then you should be fine with full backspin on the gold power pin, gold backspin pin. So I think this one you're gonna have a really good chance at. My line was good every time I had a shot at this one. It's just that little bit less backspin killed me here. But as you can see, good line, really good shot at it. Make sure you apply the minus 17% in caddy. And we'll move on to our next hole. Okay, so we're on to our last hole here now. Really good opportunity again to get the hole out. There's a nice tailwind coming in here, but I know this hole plays with quite a lot of rollout. So before I even started this was my first crack at it. Before I started, I knew I'd need a backspin pin here because the Pegasus 1 only has about 60% backspin. So I go ahead and add a green backspin pin here, and all I'm trying to do is get my drive right to the end of the fairway, as close as I can to the front edge of that fairway. So go and set your shot up. You probably, you don't want to be too much further than where I am here. You can probably even afford to go back just a fraction. But this setup gives us plenty of room with the backspin on Pegasus 1 to have a good shot at this one coming in. So we go ahead and take our drive here, and we'll take note of the distance so you guys have got this for reference. So 241 yards. Now, what I'm first going to do here is adjust for the break of the green. So I'm looking at it here, it's roughly 2 bars left. Then I just go and apply all my backspin. And as I said earlier, I've got a decent knowledge of Wolf Creek, so I go and set the ball up pretty much where I know it needs to be. Take the backspin off here in a second and just have a look to see what that looks like. So what I then do is just slowly bring it back down to see where that arc falls. Pretty comfortable with that position there. So what we are then going to do is adjust our ball guide, because we've applied the left spin to counter the break, but then we have right to left tail, which overplays a little bit on this hole. So what we want to then do is set up on the right edge of the cup with this wind, and I'm going to add a 1% elevation here because this one is slightly uphill. So the 1% elevation, just go ahead and apply that, so the +1. So with our 3.4 mile an hour wind here, we've got a 1.23 ring adjust, which gives us wind divided by 2.764. Now we're just going to quickly go back up so that you guys can use this as a reference. We're going to find our position from landing to cup. So we are looks like about 2.1 rings. Yep, so a little bit over 2.1 rings from landing to cup. Okay, we'll go back to our shot setup here. So we've got a 1.23 ring adjust. A little bit of time just making sure that I've got the increments right here because I want to get my pull right. Here we go. Happy with that. Let's go ahead and take our shot. This one comes in nicely. Look at that, dead on line. So as I said, couple of things to keep in mind. First thing you are doing is adjusting for the break of the green by adding left spin, and then you are going to adjust for the secondary wind on this right to left tail. So you just want the ball guide starting on the left edge, the right edge of the cup. That right to left tailwind is going to bring it up in line with the flag, and as you can see, it's going to drop really nicely, dead centered. So 2.1 rings from landing to cup, and then the adjustments that we've just talked about. All right, so pretty much there's an opportunity to drop every hole today. The only one I didn't have was that longer par 5. I forgot to hit the practice button, and I don't like to replay too much. So I just went ahead and played that one out because I was pretty happy with the score I had so far. But as I said, that one, couple of tips in there to go and adjust that setup, give yourself a better look at it, use a practice pin, have a look and see how close you can get it. All right, guys, good luck today. I think there's really good opportunities in the guide here today to get yourself a really nice score, especially with some of these extra par fives. You can get up sort of around that minus 18 plus range. As always, go and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button so I know you guys like this content, and probably won't be putting out a guide tomorrow for the 18-holer, but I may do a bit of a live playthrough. We'll see how we're going for time. Anyway, good luck, guys. We'll see you soon. Cheers from Banger.